Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from the strife-torn Ukrainian capital Kyiv. I'm Gaurav Sawant. India Today has the biggest team of reporters on ground zero, and during the course of this broadcast we will get you the latest updates from Kyiv to Kharkiv, from Mariupol to Bucha to Irpin, where on day 18 this battle appears to be intensifying. The situation appears to be taking a turn for the worse. On day 18, Lviv on the western flank of Ukraine has also been targeted, and multiple rockets and missiles were fired at a military installation very close to Lviv. There are reports of loss of life on ground. The Indian embassy has temporarily shut its office in Ukraine and will operate out of Poland, at least for now. But the situation here appears to be taking a turn for the worse. There have been several missile strikes in multiple parts of Ukraine. We bring you our top story.
Missile strikes on cities. Charred houses and vehicles. Air bases attacked. Bloodbath on the streets of Ukraine. Putin is unrelenting and unsparing. Air raid alerts in almost every region in Ukraine, including Kharkiv, Kyiv, Zhytomyr and Zaporizhia. Ukraine claims Russians shot at civilians who were trying to evacuate along a green corridor in Kyiv, killing 7 people. Russia expanding offensive to western city of Lviv, which saw a barrage of multiple missile strikes and several casualties. Buildings and cars in ruins. The streets of Kyiv paint a picture of horror and destruction.
This was somebody's house. The entire frontage here has been destroyed. The study room there, the kitchen there, everything stands destroyed, and this is just one home. Let me also show you the destruction at another home here, and many homes. Whether you look at the shrapnel in that house, whether you look at the destruction in this house, or you look at the damage in that house, and this entire locality has now been vacated.
Right now I'm on my way to Bucha from Kyiv, and here you can see a police car which has been hit by a small rocket and has been damaged. So many such police cars have been hit. There's another one standing on the other side, and this is being hit by a small rocket today morning probably.
Kherson, the first city to fall, still shows resistance in some pockets, leading to fight back. But the city continues to witness massive attacks by the Russian troops. Many houses reduced to rubble. Ukrainian tanks and vehicles damaged. In Kharkiv, heavy shelling has resulted in massive destruction. Houses charred. Vehicles on fire. Commercial buildings and buildings of state administration destroyed in back-to-back attacks.
There are the ruins of Kharkiv Regional State Administration behind me. When it was attacked on the morning by the rockets from the sky, Kharkiv volunteers gathered here to coordinate their work with each other and authorities. The building was destroyed by a second blow on another day. The Kremlin cover says that they are hitting military targets only, but in reality, they are destroying the symbols of our cities and our freedom.
Ruthless Russians moved down a car full of people with their tanks in Zaporizhia, killing 2 adults and a teen. Missiles rocked residential areas of Mykolaiv. In Baishiv, just outside Kyiv, the neighborhood reduced to rubble after relentless attack. But Ukraine is not ready to drop resistance, despite its willingness for fresh talks. Zelensky proposed to meet Putin with the condition that Israel mediates.
Російські окупанти не можуть нас підкорити. У них немає такої сили, немає такого духу, вони тримаються тільки на насильстві і тільки на терорі. Всюди, куди прийшла Росія, на чужу землю, мрії неможливі.
With no end to the war in sight, can the next round of negotiations, scheduled after finalization of legal framework, bring any respite? Bureau Report, India Today.
Let me now cut across to some of our reporters on ground. We have Shweta Singh, Geeta Mohan, Rajesh Pawar getting us more reports. Let's cut across and watch one of these reports.
In the war zone Bucha, it's a complete decimation of a beautiful neighborhood. The scars of war are all pervasive. Here is what I found. I'm right now standing in front of Babaniyar Memorial. It is a memorial in the memory of those Jews which were killed by the Nazis in the Second World War. Almost 18% population of Kyiv during the Second World War in the late 1930s was almost 18% of the total population. And these people were massacred by the Nazis, and mass graves existed in this area of Babaniyar. And this memorial was made to commemorate these people who were killed by the Nazis. There was a claim by the Ukraine that recently a missile has destroyed this memorial or has caused some kind of damage. And then they blamed the Russian army of destroying the heritage sites, historical sites of Kyiv city. But here we do not see any kind of damage or any kind of bomb in this area which has landed a missile. Just behind this, a few meters away, about 200 meters away, if you can see, is a TV tower. Maybe it was targeted and maybe something fell between these two things, between the memorial and the TV tower, which we cannot see right now. If you see behind me, this is a new memorial at Babiar, which was made to commemorate the barbaric murdering of Jews during the Second World War by the Nazis. And this is a new memorial which was made by the government after Ukraine became an independent country. Ukrainian government alleged that Russians are destroying historical sites, and they gave an example of Babiar, that Russian missile or a bomb fell here. If you see towards little away, just 100 meters from here is this TV tower, a huge TV tower, which is a communication center and becomes a legitimate military target. Probably it was being targeted and something fell near it. But as far as Babiar is concerned, I have gone all around and I've shown you on camera, it's totally safe. I'm standing in front of a TV tower inside the Kyiv city, which was targeted by a Russian missile a few days ago. But this missile missed its target just by about 25 to 30 meters. And the result was the TV tower is totally safe and standing. But see what happened to the nearby area. You see this pole? This pole is become totally black, it's all gone. And a similar pole was there in the far distance, if you see. And see its portion, other part of the pole went so far and near the car, if you can see, lying on the road. So this is the kind of damage it has done. And if you look around, the buildings have also been damaged. Bring it this end and look at this car, the state of this car. This car has been badly damaged too, totally. So anything in this area was totally blasted, but it missed its main target, which was the TV tower, just by 25 meters. So this is the kind of precision today's military technologies need if they want to hit the target without any collateral damage. I am right now crossing the metro station of Brest-Reka, which was hit by a Russian missile a few days ago. The whole area is in shambles, lot of damage, and we are not allowed to film here. So, but I'm trying to do it from a car. I want to show you a lorry, the way it has been hit, that it is burnt. It can be seen now. See the situation. This is how a lot of debris all around, and the whole area is in shambles. And this is metro station Brest-Reka inside the Kyiv city. It is right inside the Kyiv city. And this is a missile, a massive missile, probably a cruise missile, which hit this area a couple of days ago. My colleague Shweta has been sending unparalleled coverage of the battle scars of this beautiful country.
The Russian Defense Ministry has released never-before visuals of capture of a Ukrainian airport believed to be the Hostomel airport. You see the Russian Special Forces Spetsnaz get off from their Ka-52. They go for a frontal assault. This footage has been released by the Defense Ministry of Russia.
Landing in a military chopper. Then, quick area domination. Russian troops in action. Reportedly to seize the Hostomel airfield, northwest of the capital Kyiv. Crouching for the ambush with deadly ammunition. These images, released by Russian Defense Ministry from 24th February, ostensibly capture the massive fight between Ukraine and Russian troops. Plumes of huge black smoke can be seen rising kilometers ahead. The Hostomel airfield alongside the Antonov airport close to Kyiv proved a vital staging post for a planned assault on the capital city. During fight for the airport, Russian shelling had destroyed the world's largest aircraft, Antonov AN-225 Miria. This is the first time images of the intense capture was released by Russian Defense Ministry. At least a half dozen Russian helicopters were spotted flying west towards Hostomel. Bureau Report, India Today.
Over to my colleague Geeta, who has given us some of the most daring exclusives from war zone. Geeta?
The devastation is evident everywhere in Ukraine. Beautiful cities turn to rubble and ruin. The before and after images over here will leave you deeply pained.
Captivating cathedrals, marvelous monasteries, historic monuments, and cities with grand landscapes. This was Ukraine for tourists holidaying in Europe's second largest country. Now, all that is left for one to see in Ukraine is this: missile attacks and explosions, bloodstains of civilians, and heartbreaking scenes of citizens fleeing. Mykolaiv, a city and municipality in southern Ukraine, the main shipbuilding center of the Black Sea, is now under attack. Images on your screen show a Russian missile targeting a car park in the city and several other civilian areas, reduced to rubble. The beautiful town of Volnovakha in the Donetsk region of Ukraine, it served as the administrative center. and now has been decimated by shelling. Buildings have collapsed, cars have been destroyed. The region has become a ghost town, with people fleeing from the area in droves. Kharkiv, the second largest city, continues to be the worst hit. Images on the screen show this once beautiful city in ruins. Buildings totally destroyed, the cars empty shells, and no sign of life anywhere in this ravaged city. Capital city, Kyiv, the most populous city of Ukraine, an important industrial, scientific, and cultural center of Eastern Europe, now in ruins. Devastating images capture bodies lying all around, charred Russian tanks, and destruction everywhere. This is the central city of Ukraine, Dnipro, and the destruction is evident here too. Once bustling and full of life, shelling and continuous airstrikes by Russia has reduced this city to debris.
Ukraine is also a traveler's paradise. This is one of those last genuine destinations in Europe where you can explore a lot of areas. And this is a tourist paradise, or at least it was, when lakhs and lakhs of tourists visited this country earlier. Now the problem is this country is just struggling to stay afloat amidst the Russian invasion. With cameraman Pawan Kumar in Kyiv, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. It's not just a battle on ground where it has its troops and tanks, it's also sending in missiles. The war is also on in cyberspace, and this war, even citizens are in the line of fire. While military installations are being targeted, what is also being targeted are residential buildings. Ukraine says there are no civilians in this area, there are no military installations in this area. The Russians say that while it is a civilian area, there are military installations including surface-to-air missiles and troops in those areas. Take a look at this report.
In the summer of 1940, the barbaric Nazi regime of Adolf Hitler steamrolled through France as World War II engulfed continental Europe. Across the Straits of Dover, British Prime Minister Winston Churchill gave an iconic speech to galvanize the English masses.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
"82 years later, as the Russian army in a major escalation swept through vast swatches of Ukrainian land, President Volodymyr Zelensky borrowed from the Churchill playbook while addressing the United Kingdom's House of Commons. In his address to the English Parliament, President Zelensky channeled Britain's wartime Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Zelensky spoke of the brutal and barbaric experience of the Russian assault.
We will not give up, and we will not lose. We will fight till the end. We'll fight at sea, we'll fight in the air, we'll defend our land, whatever the cost. We'll fight in the forests, we'll fight in the fields, on the shores, in the cities and the villages, on the streets, we'll fight on the hills.
In his speech, Zelensky also referred to the dialogue by Crown Prince Hamlet from William Shakespeare's play of the same name.
To be or not to be, you know well this Shakespearean question. 13 days ago, this question could have been asked about Ukraine. But now, not anymore. Obviously, it is to be. Obviously, to be free. And where if not here to remind you the words that Great Britain have already heard, which are relevant again.
І ми не здамося.
As Russia continues to wage hybrid war on Ukraine, bombing residential buildings and targeting Ukrainian citizens through cyber warfare, the ideological war between the two neighboring nations has reached a fever pitch. The latest flashpoint on the ideological war front is all in a name. What's the correct pronunciation for the capital city of Ukraine? Kyiv or Kiev? While Kyiv was the former name of the Ukrainian capital under USSR following 1991, Ukrainians have referred to the city as Kyiv. Kyiv derived from the native Ukrainian language of Lithuanian. Following Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, the Kyiv not Kiev movement gained mass momentum in Ukraine. Now, with Russia aggravating its assault on the sovereignty and integrity of Ukraine, the spelling and pronunciation of the capital city is grabbing headlines. Indeed, pronunciation is political. While Russia's war on Ukraine has been condemned world over, President Putin has repeatedly referred to the war as a special military operation. Addressing the nation on International Women's Day, President Putin mentioned the mothers, wives, sisters and fiancés of men and officers fighting to defend Russia during the special operation. Putin's speech, however, drew attention as he spoke in front of the bust of Catherine the Great, the country's longest ruling female leader. During her reign, Catherine extended the borders of the Russian Empire by annexing Crimea, right bank Ukraine, Belarus and Lithuania. As the Russian army edges ever so close to the Ukrainian capital city of Kyiv, two conflicting narratives of autocratic expansionism and a democracy-aligned rules-based order are at loggerheads. Would Putin's triumph signal success for autocratic aggression? Or will a Ukrainian victory signal a vindication for the lessons of a democratic world order established over the past century? Oishik Bhattacharya for India Today.
That is all we have time for on this special broadcast from the strife-torn Ukraine. From all of us here, Shweta Singh, Geeta Mohan, Rajesh Pawar, camera persons Pawan Kumar and Syed Mohsen, many thanks for watching. For all the latest news and updates, stay with us on India Today.
Now, as Russia continues its offensive to capture capital city of Kiev, Ukrainians have now refused to bow down. My colleague Gaurav Sawant had a conversation with Hennady, the mayor of Bela Tserkva. He said that Russians may be advancing from the north and northeast, but their advance will be stalled at the south side. Let's have a listen.
Preparations intensifying for the defense of Kiev, and we are in Bela Tserkva. This is about 70 kilometers from Kiev, and with us is the mayor. This is the axis from the south. We've been talking about the north, northwest and west, three approaches to Kiev that the Russians are trying to advance from. In the south, they are being stopped, and with us is the mayor of Bela Tserkva. Sir, what's the current position right now?
Звичайно, наше місто, як і всі великі міста України, були здійснені ракетні удари з сторони електропостачання, водопостачання, газозабезпечення, а також теплопостачання.
Today the situation in Bela Tserkva is stability. All the life support system works stably, but we also was attacked by Russian Federation army. We have some missiles here.
So there was a missile strike. There have been missile strikes here. Now, this is quite a militarized zone even as we speak. Everyone's carrying a weapon. The mayor himself is carrying his assault rifle. His team that work with him, they are armed with their weapons walking alongside him. Is a Russian invasion or a Russian attack from this flank also expected, like Brovary or in Irpin and Bucha? The Russians are trying to advance from there. What about this place?
Поки що на нас атаки не було. Було декілька диверсійних груп.
No, the situation in Bela Tsarkva is stable. We had some sabotage groups, but now it's liquid.
They've been liquidated.
That's
a very important point that you make. The mayor is making a very important point about sabotage. Russian infiltrators, they are coming into the system not with their weapons. Their weapons are already here, and then they attempt to target the Ukrainian security forces from behind. And that is where, if you notice this change in the armband, it used to be yellow earlier, it's blue now. It's to keep an eye on who's on the Ukrainian side and who's on the Russian side. But there were some missile attacks that took place in Bela Tsarkva. What was the damage like?
3 людини загинуло, на жаль, і 12 людей поранено. Також, є зруйновані будівлі і, звичайно,
we have 3 deaths and 12 wounded. Some building is destroyed, but
you're fighting on.
Yeah.
Okay. In this locality, there have been some missile strikes. Some military installations have also been targeted by the advancing Russian soldiers. But is Kyiv safer from the south side as the Russians approach from the north and the northwest?
Сьогодні в Україні немає міста, де би було безпечно знаходитись, тому що ми бачимо
there are today no safe cities here in Ukraine because we see that missiles attack is on the west, on the south also.
Well, that's an important point. For speaking to us here on India Today, Mayor, many thanks, sir. Ma'am, many thanks. So, protecting the city, but making a very important point. No city is safe from a Russian missile attack. These attacks continue, but ground forces are being stalled at multiple locations. The pitched battles for the control and defense of Kyiv continue. With cameraman Pawan Kumar at Bela Tsarkva on the southern axis to Kyiv, Ukraine, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
It's the 18th day of war in Ukraine, and Russia sees no signs of de-escalation so far. We are looking at Ukrainians accusing Russia of absolute atrocities. In fact, I spoke to Kyiv Rudik, the Ukrainian MP, who gave us an insight into the kind of attacks that Russia has stepped up with. Let's have a listen. I'm going to quickly cut across to Kyiv Rudik, who's the Ukrainian MP, joining us for more on that. Kyiv, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Kyiv, do give us an insight into what has happened along the green corridors along Kyiv. We hear that 7 people have been killed as airstrikes continue by the Russian troops, and 57 are said to have been injured. Could you give us a confirmation?
Hello, thank you for having me. Right, indeed, the green humanitarian corridors have been bombarded by Russians. We are still calculating the amount of people who were killed. But we do know one thing. Russians have no honor. They cannot be trusted. They are killing civilians at the green corridors. So to tell you how the green corridor works. So when there are people who are just civilians who cannot get out, who don't have food, don't have water, and they just need to get outside, they just need to flee, then the commanding from Ukrainian side is talking to commanding from the Russian side and saying, please let them go, stop fighting so the peaceful people can go away. And when Russian commands saying yes, then we are taking people out. But since the beginning of the war, there has been so many times when they just broke their word. In peaceful city Mariupol, they have for 5 days, they would say yes, and then would shoot at the peaceful convoys going out. Every single time they would say yes, and then would shoot at the convoy. Could you believe this? Mothers melting snow to give water to their children who just want to get out. Children hiding behind their mummies. They all hope that they will be taken somewhere safe. And then finally, when they are getting into these buses, the soldiers are firing the guns at the buses. Could you believe this? How cruel this is? These are people. But do Russians want to fight women and children? This is like it's crazy because people just want to get out from the city that have been bombarded. And we are ready to fight, but when Russians give their word that they will let them out and then they're fighting them, this is a war crime. This is the crimes they're committing throughout Ukraine.
These atrocities are unbearable. Kira, we're really gutted to hear that 7 people have died, including a child. But as we see, parallelly, there are talks happening almost on a daily basis. There are negotiations happening. Where are these talks really headed to?
I don't believe in peaceful negotiations. You already see that they are not even able to fulfill only like fairly minor thing, letting people out of the siege cities. And why would they keep their peaceful promises? Why? I do not believe this. I think they will lie and will lie again, and they cannot be trusted. Russians cannot be trusted. And imagine that we have a peace treaty. And what if Putin breaks it? Then what? Additional sanctions? No, we don't play these games. We don't play them anymore. I do not believe in peaceful negotiations with Russia. He's an aggressor. He needs to take out his troops out of Ukrainian land, and then we can think. Then we will think.